I kind of want to take it a bit easy this month. The past 3 months have been really, really exhausting, leading up to the big reveal of my hour-long Final Fantasy video. And before I get right back into making more exhausting essays about things, I kind of wanted to take a moment to talk about, Kingdom Hearts. Really? Okay, look, I know the series is notorious for being a collection of long, exceedingly convoluted games about anime children going on walking tours of Disney properties, culminating in the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, where you have battle mechanics that are literally just advertisements for Disneyland. Man, you can really tell this was made before the Forever pandemic. I don't want to talk about any of that, though. I actually want to talk about my favorite game in the series. Is it my favorite game in the series? I hate picking favorites, but it definitely features my favorite playable character in the series. That's almost enough. So let's talk about Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage. Okay. I don't like this game a lot because it's short, but I think its length has something to do with, like, this. Look, just hear me out. Look, most mainline Kingdom Hearts titles, and it's the kind of series where I think, like, there's only mainline titles. Like, they don't really have spin-offs. They're notoriously long and are often structured in very similar ways. You play an anime child, be it Sora, Roxas, Riku, Terra, Ventus, or Aqua, and essentially meander around a bunch of Disney properties, talk to some Final Fantasy characters if you're lucky, and generally wait for the story to kick off, which usually happens either in tiny little bursts in the middle, like when you run into Riku and the whale from Pinocchio in the first game, or the time Belle gets a girl boss moment against one of the evil anime boys, or at the very end. This is, to be clear, both fine and kind of by design. It'd be a little misguided, honestly, to try and approach Kingdom Hearts as a series like this sort of grimly important, dark, contemplative narrative, when a lot of the obvious charm of it is, you know, having fun in Disney World. Like, it makes sense to fill these games with these diversions into wacky properties, not just because of grotesquely cynical marketing, but because there's something, you know, kind of happy-go-lucky about these games. A childlike whimsy involved in going on these fun adventures. You know, even when you are playing characters with a bit more complexity than Sora, the plucky icon of the series. The games can be very emotionally charged, have tender moments, dramatic tension, all of that, but usually they keep those parts kind of locked off to the front and back of the narrative because a lot of the middle is relegated to reminding you about this, you know, Disney property. Do you kids remember Hunchback of Notre Dame? I do. So, the inevitable reveal here is that Fragmentary Passage is short, and what gets cut is a lot of the high-flying whimsy. You're playing Aqua, who, in her previous title, had lost her friends Terra and Ventus. Terra had been possessed by the big bad of the series, and Ventus's soul has, hold on. Shoot, 1 second. Oh, right. Okay, yeah, he was, right. Okay, so he gets locked in a super climactic battle with his dark self, Vanitas, and it shatters his heart, and Aqua put him somewhere in Castle Oblivion. Sorry, look, it's been a while since I looked at Birth by Sleep. Anyway, Aqua ends up lost in the void, and that's where this game starts us, with her wandering through this dark, lifeless world. There are Heartless, the enemies of the series, but there really isn't much in the way of other characters. No whimsical Disney fingers? No. There are Heartless, the enemies of the series, but there really isn't much in the way of other characters, like no whimsical Disney figures, just the hollow bones of memorable places. A mine, a castle, a forest, empty and sullen, and I mean, okay, Mickey Mouse is there, but there's actually a whole thing about Mickey losing his shirt so he can go, like, bear mouse snip at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, but that's not really what I'm here for. Aqua fitting into the wild, intricate tapestry of the larger plot of Kingdom Hearts isn't really what I care about in this game, which I get is kind of a bold stance. You know, Fragmentary Passage is almost obviously a tech demo, right? Like, it came out roughly 2 years prior to Kingdom Hearts 3, which was built in a new system with new graphics, and so Fragmentary Passage, this, you know, tiny little game, was mostly made to just set up how the new era of the franchise will look and feel. You know, it's the Catherine to the main series Persona 5. That being said, anyone who knows anything about Kingdom Hearts should know that the series isn't really keen on making derivative titles that have nothing to do with the main story. Every game is deeply connected to the others, which is why the series is notorious for its often inscrutable narrative twists and turns. So, Fragmentary Passage essentially has two purposes: filling in the lore and showcasing the new system. And it already came out in apathy? Is that a term? I just told you I don't care about the former, and, you know, cards on the table, I can kind of take or leave the latter. Like, it looks and feels nice, but I don't really have much else to say otherwise on that. So, why am I talking about this? Why is this arguably one of my favorite titles in the series? Well, I think front and center, Fragmentary Passage is kind of fully committed to letting you be with Aqua, and a lot of the world you explore seems to kind of respond to her own interiority. You know, she doubts her own perception of time, and then has to solve a puzzle around a town and a castle frozen in time. You know, she feels like she's betrayed her friends, so she has to fight dark reflections of herself. You know, she feels conflicted and lost, and has to navigate a hostile, tangled forest. More than the lore or anything Mickey will tell us about the darkness or whatever, we can come to understand some things about the world in that it seems to respond to her own insecurities, and that personal narrative flows into gameplay. It may not be the most elegant in every situation, but it carries this kind of introspective tone, and it's actually kind of a compelling little journey. This also flows seamlessly into the fact that I genuinely like Aqua as a character. Like, okay, Kingdom Hearts' original trio of Sora, Riku, and Kairi came at us really early on, so they all feel a little more like they're establishing a framework for the concept of the series as a walking tour of Disney properties with Square Enix characters floating about. You know, by the time they introduce us to Aqua, Terra, and Ventus, this is round 3 of sad anime children trio, and less than trying to get us on board with the idea of the series, you know, these characters now have to work as distinct elements in a larger narrative, right? Like, Roxas has a specific purpose to his character that was made wholesale in the Kingdom Hearts narrative, and the same is true for these three. So, the idea of a smaller game that is focused on Aqua kinda does it for me, because her journey had a lot going on, and to have her stuck here after, you know, showing us all the effort she put into taking care of her boys, I don't know, you know, Birth by Sleep had this moodiness to it when it wasn't busy doing Mario Kart or Mario Party, you know, I'm sorry. Because it's a prequel, right? Like, before Sora made the world better, sort of, a little, only for it to rapidly unfuck itself. Regardless, it's one of the times where the series, which, you know, has a long-term investment on being almost cloyingly uplifting, you know, talking about how light is good and darkness can never overcome it, and, you know, all that heartwarming stuff, it doesn't really get to show you a good story where that's the case, you know? All the victories in Birth by Sleep are Pyrrhic at best. You know, Terra's triumph is that he hasn't lost his soul completely, so when he's busy being the, one of the main villains of one of the games, there's still a part of him that might be saved, maybe. You know, Ventus doesn't form the Keyblade. I'm not getting into this one. And Aqua manages to hide Ventus and pull Terra's possessed body out of the void, only to go in his stead lost in this miserable abyss. You know, she doesn't even escape, not even in this game. In fact, Kingdom Hearts 3 kinda does her dirty because she just gets possessed, I guess, and that fucking sucks, but for now, we get this little moment, walking through the ghosts of her past, of our past, left behind. Look, I know that Kingdom Hearts has a reputation for being silly, which is both fair and true, but it does always bother me that the biting critique of Kingdom Hearts predominantly seems to be based around it being ridiculous or the lore being confusing. I think Kingdom Hearts has a deeply cynical business model woven underneath all of its heartfelt sentiment. I think it's going to be a franchise that will never die until it stops making enough money, so all of the secret Easter eggs luring us into the next installment will just keep coming. Like that Kingdom Hearts 3, for all its efforts to seem like the climactic finish of the story, was all just another lead up to the next winding journey through more Disney properties. That will never stop happening. They are, weirdly enough, doomed to complicate their own narrative for as long as it continues to sell. And yet, I think there's something refined and beautiful in this small little tech demo. I also think that Sora's the least interesting playable character in the series, so maybe Fragmentary Passage really is better than Kingdom Hearts 3. Special thanks to Brandon Haney, Caitlin Fisher, Kate Rose, Colleen T., Dector A., Evan Kearns, Lewis Wells, Maria Aladren, Alistair V., Naraya the Red Marked, Pahor, Professor Bopper, Thomas Vulpes, and Zetetic.